Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. Joffrey Noodle Eggs here today with the last in the Arrow video week 2. So far with this week we have looked at the deeper you dig and Merry Christmas Mr. Lawrence. And today we're looking at Harpoon, which is a sort of modern day sort of survival kind of horror film. With a twist. It's a bit different than your normal sort of horror film. The film sort of starts off where we get to see 3 characters. First of all, we get to see one bloke who's in his sort of like parents' home. His parents have just died in a car crash, and he's sorting out their stuff. So we sort of see him in the home going through some of the stuff and old photos and things, and his phone rings from a guy called Richie, who's his friend. So we didn't see his friend in a car driving towards his, and he's going a bit berserk, because he got a text from I think, or he's seen his girlfriend's text phones, and he thinks that his friend has been sleeping with his girlfriend. So he turns up at the house and starts beating on him as soon as he goes in the door. And they have like quite a big fight. And this Richie just keeps punching and punching and punching his best mate in the face, and all this sort of thing going on. And then his girlfriend turns up and she runs into the house and she goes in there to stop him. And so eventually he stops, because I think she whacks him with something, and he sort of like stops. But his friend is absolutely caked with blood and stuff. Where he's been really pommeled. This Richie guy's got real bad sort of anger management. He's got really short fuse. Anyway, she then goes to the car and comes back with like a present, which is a harpoon. Apparently it's Richie's birthday, and the messaging was about his present. That's why he put in the message that, I hope he doesn't find out, and all this sort of thing. So it was all about the present. So he then sort of like feels really bad and guilty, doesn't apologise, but just thinks, oh, right, okay, that sort of thing. It was, and and when it's explained to him, he still doesn't really sort of click in. But anyway, to make it up to them, he's going to take them out on a boat for a boat trip, because it's their favourite thing to do. He's the Richie, the guy with a short fuse, is quite rich. I think his dad's quite rich, and sort of thing. So he's got this really nice boat. So they sort of set off on this boat journey, and you sort of see them all having a laugh and stuff like that, and they're all kind of like joking and just sort of like having sort of fun, and there's music playing and they're getting drunk. And then we sort of like cut to the 2 lads talking, and Richie started asking him about something else that happened, another incident, because I think his girlfriend and his friend were arguing, and he wanted to know what that was about. So he gave him one sort of story, and then he sort of like we see him sort of like playing with his harpoon, sort of like lingering over his girlfriend, looking at her and stuff like this. It's kind of creepy. And he starts talking to her, and he's sort of playing with his harpoon on his boat. And he's talking to her, and he asks her the same question about what they were arguing about, and she gives him a different answer. So he is already triggered that there's something not right here. So he then sort of like gets his sort of harpoon, and we see him walking towards his friend who's at the back of the boat, sort of whacking this fish over the head with this pipe, because he's caught a fish fishing. And he's gone to him with his sort of harpoon, and he says, I'm giving you 3 seconds to tell me what actually happened. And he starts counting down to 3, and then just when he says 3, he gets a whack on the head from the behind. and it's the girl. She's knocked him out, and they have been cheating. And he says, "Oh, he's figured it out. He's figured it out," sort of thing. And then there's like a big sort of fight goes on the boat, and the guy, Richie, takes his girlfriend downstairs, and she's trying to call for help because this Richie's going absolutely berserk because he's short fuse, and he goes down there and he starts attacking her, and he starts trying to strangle her, and then the other guy, his friend, comes and whacks him behind the head with the back of the harpoon gun, I think, or the pole, and they think he's dead. So Richie's now lying on the floor, looking like he's dead. So they're all sort of like thinking, "Oh God, what we're going to do? You know, what can we do? What can we tell?" What they're trying to think of a story to sort of make up about it because they think he's dead. So then they sort of maneuver him to the corner of the boat, and they sort of rock the boat and because they didn't want to push him in. So they sort of rock the boat, and then he sort of falls into the water. But that wakes him up. He's not dead. He's just it was just sort of like knocked out. Anyway, so he's now in the water, and they're thinking about, well, driving off and leaving him there, and they start arguing with him in the water. So she goes up to start the boat to leave him there, and they haven't got the keys, and Richie's got the keys, the one that's in the water, so they can't go anywhere. So they make an agreement not to kill each other because they keep arguing, and it's real hostile stuff going on. And he says, "I will come back on, and start the boat, and we go back, and but you need to throw everything off the boat that we can use as weapons." So they throw everything into the water, the harpoon, everything, bottles, anything that can be used for a weapon, fishing rods, everything's all gone into the water, golf clubs, everything. And then he climbs back on the boat, and the other lad's nursing a wound in the hand because while she was protecting herself against Richie, his girlfriend, she fired the harpoon and it went through the other guy's hand. So he's nursing a wound through his hand. Anyway, so they all go up to the top bit where the engine is, and he puts the key in to start, and the boat doesn't start. So we've got three hostile people who don't like each other at the moment, stuck on this boat in the middle of nowhere. What's going to happen? You need to watch it and find out. It's a really sort of different kind of horror film, this. It is a kind of survival horror, but it's got lots of comedy going on in it, and it's got a lot of like real sort of like violence, people being violent, horrible, nasty to each other. And it's like all this sort of take on, these three characters are so different, and are they going to survive? Other things are going to happen to them while they're stranded out on this boat. Are they going to work together to survive? You need to find, or are they going to sort of like, I don't know. You watch it and find out. Well, I know, but you need to watch it and find out. What do I think of Harpoon? I thought it was a really clever film. It was a great film. Really enjoyed it. It's not a very long film. It runs for about 80 odd minutes. It's not very long, but it was really cool and original. The pluses of it looks stunning, absolutely amazing. The characters were quite cool and they're quite convincing. It's just the three of them in the film, and it's quite cool and convincing. And it's sort of played out with some sort of narration in sort of some points with little chapters, almost trying to make it a little bit like a Tarantino kind of film. And it's sort of played out in chapters, and it works really well, and it's good fun. I really enjoyed it. It's quite violent. There is some good violence in there, which is cool, and it is quite funny, and it's quite a different take in the film. So that's all the pluses. The minus, it's not very scary. It's not a scary horror. It's just it's just horror in the sense of like a horrible position to be in. And what would you do? How would you survive? So it's a different sort of horror. So I'm going to score this an amazing watch and give it an 8 out of 10. I think that's been really fair. It is a really good film, so different. Have any of you guys seen Harpoon? If you have, let me know down below what you thought about it. Because I wasn't really sure what too much it was about. Um, I thought, oh, it's going to be like a shark movie. But watch it and find out what it's really, really about. It's really, really cool. It's really different, and it's something different to watch. And not just all the basic sort of horror film. I still class this as a horror film because it's like I said, it's a horrible situation, and people doing horrible things to each other, and so it's really not good position to be in. But I really enjoyed it. So that's my review of Harpoon. I hope you've enjoyed this week of my Arrow. I think next week might be my indicator film week. So we might have some films on that. So keep your eyes out for that if you're interested. Until then, watch some other horror channels for me. Watch Horror Hands, Horror Geek, The Man v Film, RS Designs, Pizzlewell. I am the Ice Lord. Sarah watches horror. Kat watches horror films. Um, Also watch Grumpy Andrew's Haunted House. Really cool channels, guys. Till next time, look after yourselves, look after one another, and I really hope I'll see you all soon.